You are about to witness history in the making.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Pop Culture Gamers podcast. Today is Sunday the 18th of November and we have a special. We haven't done a special for a little while, so slight different change to our normal sort of show because we were very sad to hear the news about Stan Lee, who passed away on the 12th of November this year at the ripe old age of 95. So we thought we'd do a special just on Stan and his creations. As always, I'm joined by Steve. Say hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
And how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, I think we're both feeling a bit like that at the moment. I can't hear out of one ear at the moment because my sinuses is blocked on that side. So it's going to be a good show. I'm not going to be able to hear half of what you say, at least.
Well, that's all right. Then I can be insultive. Go on.
What? Anyway, so what we'll do is we'll just start off just talking about a little bit about Stan and his early career, because Stan Lee was actually involved in comic strips from a very young age, actually 17 years of age, before he joined Marvel, or rather, what would become Marvel. He was hired by his Captain America co-creator Joe Simon, and Lee also started off as an assistant as well at Timely Comic, which was a pulp magazine division of the larger publishing house owned by Martin Goodman. A little bit later than that, he became the interim editor, and also that's basically where his career started to bloom, and he became basically probably, if not the best known creator of comic books and superheroes. Wouldn't you say so, Steve?
I should say so, really. I mean, there is another side to Marvel, which is the DC Comics, but yeah, it is very prominent in my childhood.
Yeah, well, I think both Marvel and DC. More so, I think, in our generation, it was DC, to be honest, when we were kids, because it was Batman and Superman. They were the big ones. They were the ones that had the films and everything. But when we actually look now, the table's completely turned, really. And, Marvel is the one that's marvellous, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, being a child and watching the Hulk and Spider-Man as a kid.
Oh, heck yeah.
Whether it would be the cartoon version of Spider-Man and the TV show for the Hulk, and as much as occasionally picking up some comics as well. Yeah, that's where it all sort of kicks off, really, I think, for me.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me as well. I mean, it's like, being a nerdy kid, I could always sort of engage with Spider-Man because I understood the Peter Parker kind of character that he was. He wasn't the one who was like really super duper big on sports and everything. He was the nerdy one who liked science and all of that sort of stuff, which is much more what I was as well.
Yeah.
Not that I was any good at science. That's kind of like where it all fell down in terms of an analogy, but there we go. Anyway, so from 1941, Lee served in several editorial roles before becoming editor-in-chief and eventually succeeding Goodman as the publisher of Marvel in 1972. Stan Lee not only created many of the superheroes that we enjoy today, but is also famous as well for his cameos. And we always love a cameo in a Marvel movie, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Or a TV series, because he's appeared on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to look at, because Stan Lee has created hundreds of characters, we can't give justice to all of them. We're just going to look at a few of them. It may be ones that you like, it may not be ones that we like. If we've missed any off that you really like, sorry about that, but we've only got a finite amount of time that we can actually do the show for as well. And we could wax lyrical, I think, about Stan Lee for, probably until we go to work tomorrow. So, Steve, Spider-Man. What was your first memory of Spider-Man? When did you become aware of him?
It's funny because
can you remember?
I can't pinpoint exactly when it was. I just remember buying the comics and then seeing a TV. I think it was probably a cartoon show.
Yes.
Now, I've got a funny feeling there might have been a Spider-Man in black and white, but I'm not 100% sure if I'm right or am I just dreaming that one.
Or did you watch it on a black and white TV?
Well, probably.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're that old that we can remember black and white TVs. And you used to get a cheaper TV license if you had one as well.
You did, didn't you? Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was just funny because I think as much as there was Spider-Man, and I think I was reading Spider-Man comics, the Superman comics, and Batman as well.
Yeah.
But from that side, Spider-Man was always my favourite, which then led on to the Hulk in the early 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Because at the time that happened, there was nothing else. Excuse me about the sneeze. There was nothing else at the time that was probably out there, especially for TV, and only having 4 channels. Yes, we had 4 channels back in those days.
Well, actually, if you think about it, when the Hulk was first on, I think we only had 3.
Oh, yeah, it would have been, because there was no Channel 4 then, was there? It was probably just ITV, BBC, and BBC Two.
And there was no Sky either.
No, absolutely.
Well, there was, but you had to look out the window to see Sky that way.
Yeah, it would never work though, would it?
No.
So really those early years that I remember, even though really behind our back, comics was a big thing still all over the world, but it wasn't as prominent as a child because I don't think we had the resources to know more about it. No,
well, we didn't have access to the internet and all of that sort of stuff either, did we?
No, and we didn't know about Comic-Con. We didn't know about, I don't know even if there was no comic book stores local to me other than I had probably going very early 80s, there was a store which was very similar to sort of the Forbidden Planet type.
Yeah.
And I was always in there. I'd go in there and pop in away from work. I knew the owner. So it was like going to your local bar and sitting down there and just having a chat about all things geeky.
Yeah.
And that's what I did really. And I think everything bloomed more from that as well because some of the stuff that he got into the shop, I sort of picked it up and, started collecting it and going from there. Yeah. And it's funny because the way Spider-Man then progressed into the first set of movies, that for me was an anticipation every time they came out. I know we might poo-poo them now.
Are you talking about the Tobey Maguire ones or the earlier ones?
The Tobey Maguire ones, because that was an event then, more so, and that was obviously there wasn't as much out as there is now.
Mm.
But yeah, no, you couldn't wait. You just waiting for the trailers and everything else, especially from that side of things. And then obviously with the Hulk trickle through as well.
Yeah.
In different shapes and forms. And not literally as in different actors playing him. And it wasn't really, I suppose then, it wasn't really till we started to get Iron Man that universe sort of kicked into full gear, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Hulk, I think he's one of those ones that was actually originally owned by Fox, one of those characters, which is...
Yeah.
But is he sort of like on loan for Avengers?
Yeah, that's it. But he was... At one point, I think as a child, just knew him as the Hulk and with no one else.
Yeah.
And that was it. Obviously things changed. But then again, I did remember there was a TV show in the 70s for Spider-Man.
And it was actually, it was like a bit like Battlestar Galactica, where they also released like the pilot, which was like a 2-hour one as a film at the cinema.
Yeah. And if you watch it now, it can look a bit very tacky. I know the way we used to crawl along the top of the roofs and that, it would almost seem laughable if you watch it now.
It's almost like the old Batman, the Adam West ones where they were just sort of, they filmed everything at 90 degrees.
I think it was Nicholas Hammond that played Spider-Man, if I remember rightly. You have to Google it as we're looking. I'm sure he played Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's funny because it probably is nearly cringeworthy. Check out, I think it's on YouTube somewhere you can find it.
Oh yeah, and I think occasionally it does actually end up on TV still, but very, very rarely.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. But, what about yourself? How did you kick into watching or even getting the comics and that? How did that start for you?
Well, I mean, in terms of, for me, all of my love for comics started off by my dad taking me to the newsagents, because that was your comic shop, wasn't it, really?
Oh, yeah.
And, excuse me, we had like a long, or what seemed to me like a massively long aisle. It was probably about 3 meters. But the bottom shelf was just full of comics, you know, in like double stacked row.
Yeah.
You know, it was always Spider-Man that everybody always used to go for. I always remember that they always had the most versions of that comic.
Yeah.
That was there. And just, you know, I was pretty obsessed with Spider-Man when I was at school, you know, primary and secondary. But just, I loved the character. I also liked Superman, I also liked Batman, but, you know, because they were really, and the Hulk was fourth. I would say those 4 characters were your core superheroes, or at least, you know, in the neck of the woods where I was, they were the ones that you would actually consider to be the core superheroes. And to be honest, the whole difference between Marvel and DC, I didn't really understand it. You know, why, you know, it was just the comic was named something slightly different. Never occurred to me there were completely different universes or anything like that, because, you know, I was an 8-year-old kid.
Well, I thought it would just be, to be honest, I thought Batman and Superman, it was all one one universe to me as a child.
Yeah, and Spider-Man in the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I think obviously in the early 60s with Adam West Batman, which is probably one of the first superheroes I've probably watched on TV.
Do you know what? I vaguely remember the first time I ever saw that. I was about 4. I think it's one of my earliest memories, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I also remember the movie of that where he was running around with a bomb, but we're not going to talk about DC.
Rubber sharks, yeah, that's another day.
And the ducks with the little ducklings.
Yeah, that's it.
But, yeah, I mean, in terms of Spider-Man then, so Lee helped create Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and also a lot of the web-slingers' most prominent enemies as well. He first appeared in Amazing Fantasies number 15, and also several of the other Spider-Man supporting characters also made their first appearance in that episode, including Aunt May, Uncle Ben, not the Rice people, but Uncle Ben as in great power comes great responsibility, Flash Thompson and Liz Allen. I don't remember Liz Allen, to be honest.
No, I don't remember that.
No, I presume it's just one of the kids that he was at school with. But back in those days as well, he also used to pay for stuff by being a photographer. Do you remember that? You know, because he always had a massive SLR, not a digital SLR, an SLR. But yeah, so that's going back to, the first Jojo Hannah Jameson, who was his boss at the Daily Bugle, first appeared in Spider-Man number 1 in March 1963. So that's older than both of us, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I was born a year later, so.
Yeah. So, and, I think really, when you talk about J. Jonah Jameson and the way that he was portrayed in the comics, you've got to give a massive shout out to J.K. Simmons and his version of J. Jonah Jameson in the Tobey Maguire movies, because he was exactly the personification of that character. Yeah,
I think so. That's why, as much as you might have issues with Tobey Maguire to a certain degree,
do you know, I don't. I think it's still to this day my favourite Spider-Man, set of movies.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't too keen on the last one, but the way they got that so right, I thought.
Yeah.
Technology of the time for what they could show on the screen, it just worked really well. And I think I've still got the DVDs kicking around somewhere at the moment, but
and it still holds up today when you actually look at the movies, the special effects.
Absolutely, yeah, they do, yeah.
But I mean, some of the other great characters, Vulture, and I did think I like Michael Keaton's take on Vulture, even though if he wasn't like Vulture in the comics.
Oh, I'm with you. What, Birdman?
No, Vulture.
Oh, Vulture. Okay.
The villain Vulture.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Confusing because he also did the film Birdman, which was an entirely different franchise.
I know. Why did I think that come into my brain? I do not know. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Octopus or Doc Ock with Alfred Molina.
Yeah.
I mean, he did a fantastic thing there. One of my favourite bad guys was also Mysterio.
I don't
Remember that one? He was the bad guy. He was a failed sort of like special effects person. And what he used to have like a big cape and a dome for a head that looked like a crystal ball. Do you remember that one?
No, I can't remember.
Oh yeah, he was always one of my favourite sort of villains in the Spider-Man universe.
Mm.
It was also in the cartoon series quite a lot as well, with that really iconic Spider-Man, that one.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
What about William Dafoe's Norman Osborn?
Yeah, that worked really well.
Yeah, he even though the Green Goblin didn't look anything like the cartoons, the comics, he just got that character. I think he played him absolutely perfectly, like this weird split sort of personality. Yeah,
that William Dafoe's good at doing that sort of acting. I think he can pull off a different persona. Play two different characters in the same movie. It's got to be hard to do that though, because you're concentrating on your character, and you have to twist that into a secondary character. Yeah, but he did. It's great. Really did well with that.
Can you believe though that it's like 16 years ago that Spider-Man was on?
Is it really?
Yeah, 2002.
Where's all the time gone?
I know.
It's awful, isn't it?
It is. And you also had, Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane. Or MJ.
Yeah, she was okay. I had no problem with her.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a really great big fan of the duo of movies that turned up afterwards. But I forgot what her name is, who played Gwen Stacy. I thought that she did a really good job.
Yeah.
What was she called? Emma Stone.
Okay.
With Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker.
Yeah.
To me, he didn't really work as Peter Parker.
No?
No, he was too cool. Peter Parker was like this weird nerd, whereas Andrew Garfield, he was a bit too slick for the character.
Yeah.
Whereas Tobey Maguire actually came across as socially awkward.
Okay.
Don't you think?
I just think he reminded me of Tim Henman, the tennis player. Don't ask why.
No, I agree. He does.
But that's how he came. I keep thinking, it's Tim Henman playing Spider-Man.
Well, he is a British actor, isn't he? So
yeah, but he just looked like him as well, and I just couldn't get the grips with that.
Yeah, that's actually quite funny because I've always thought that.
And I thought it was too early for a studio to reboot a series.
Oh, definitely. They should have done it as a continuation, not as a reboot. But they wanted to bring in the Gwen Stacy sort of sideline. And I have to admit, I think that the end of Spider-Man 2 and what happens, because I'm sure there'll be somebody who complained to say that the film's only 4 years old, so don't spoil it. But what happens was incredibly touching the way that they did it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, let's draw a line under Spider-Man and let's move on to X-Men. So what about X-Men? Were you a big X-Men fan back in the day when you were a kid?
I didn't know too much about them as a kid. I didn't see the comics. But when the movie started, that's probably when it came more prominent to me, I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew of them, don't get me wrong, but I had no interest as such to follow it up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we started seeing the X-Men movies kick in that I, seeing Jean-Luc Picard, I thought, wow, what's he doing this for, And the characters that they had playing in that first movie all seemed to gel very well. And it was nice that we had that continuation the way it went. I mean, I wasn't too happy about going to the younger side of the X-Men just to reap more rewards from the studios, but seeing the stories and how they progressed, I loved them to bits.
Yeah.
And Wolverine for me was awesome.
Well, I mean, it's like 17 films or something that he's done.
Is it really that many?
He's done a massive amount of X-Men appearances.
Yeah. Obviously, it's the single appearances. I mean, I'm sure I've got a funny feeling I saw Wolverine, the sequel to Wolverine, when I went to Florida about 9 years ago on the plane. Yeah. I might be wrong, but
Also, it's 17 years he'd been doing them.
Blimey.
With 9 appearances by the look of it.
Mm.
That's a huge amount of commitment into one character.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, on one of the films it was sort of like a cameo.
Yeah, true, yeah.
But no, he is a Hugh Jackman. He just owned that character, and he still does own that character as well. I don't think anyone will ever be as good as that.
If they do try and reboot it with a new actor at some point, I can't see it working as good.
No.
I know we have this with many movies and characters over the years where they change, the actors get changed and they reboot the series, but...
Well, they said that about Bond, didn't they? And then they, got Roger Moore, and look at that.
Yeah, that's true.
He did some great movies. So, just have to keep our minds open. But anyway, so X-Men, this was invented by Stan Lee and also Jack the King Kirby. And X-Men dates back to 1963. Beast, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Angel, Professor X and Magneto all debuted in X-Men #1. So that's a long time ago that we've had, X-Men. There are some very different, characters that Stan Lee's also done. We'll just talk about those in a second, but I'm going to ask you a question. What's the connection between X-Men and Star Wars: The Phantom Menace?
Do you know what? I'm not even going to try and use my brain on that one.
Ray Park, because he played Toad and he also played Darth Maul.
Oh, okay.
So, just a little fun fact for you. So, we've got Quicksilver, who first appeared in X-Men #4 back in March 1964. Actually, the same episode as Toad appeared in first as well. He's been played by two different actors. Evan Peters in the First Class and the sort of like prequel X-Men movies. And I think he did a fantastic job. Especially, remember that one where he runs around that room and everything's in slow motion and he just sort of like touches somebody with his finger and it sends them flying in real time.
Oh, yeah. It's sort of like how the Flash works.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like Flash time, but for Quicksilver. And the other person is Aaron Taylor-John, who played Quicksilver in Age of Ultron.
Oh, okay.
So outside of the X-Men sort of area, where Quicksilver originated from, but it's supposed to be the same character, but Aaron Taylor-John was also Kick-Ass.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, on Kick-Ass 1 and 2. Likewise, Scarlet Witch, his sister, also appeared in X-Men #4 back in 1964, played by Elizabeth Olsen in the Avengers and the Captain America movies. So, and I think she does a good part. What about Juggernaut?
I have issues with that character.
Yeah, he's a bit naff, but he was played by Vinnie Jones.
He was. That's why I had issues with it, because it was Vinnie Jones.
I didn't mind him as the Vinnie Jones Juggernaut. What I didn't like was, I can't remember if you've seen Deadpool 2, but they did a CGI Juggernaut and it just didn't work.
No, I've not seen the second one. I mean, I'll wait till it just appears on Sky probably, but no. I did get to see that. But Juggernaut for me wasn't a prominent character. I mean, when I saw it as Vinnie Jones, I just took it for what it was.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weak character, I thought.
Well, yeah, his sort of like superpower is running into things.
Yeah. I mean, that was...
Sorry, that's a bit simplified, but...
That's a bit bottom of the barrel type, isn't it? Let's make a new character. What's he going to do,
Yeah, well... Anyway, I mean, there's loads of others. There's Sentinel, Blob, I've already mentioned Toad. There's, Bolivar Trask, which was played by Peter Dinklage. And I can't remember I don't think he was supposed to be a person of shortened height, shall we say, in the actual comic books. But in the movie, obviously, Dinklage took that role. And he did him excellently, I have to say.
Yeah.
I think he's a great actor anyway, but, there we go. Anyway, let's move on. So, Fantastic Four. Did you like the Fantastic Four?
Now, I remember watching the 1967 TV show.
Was that the cartoon?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
And that's how I started seeing the Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at some images on the web here, and memories come flooding back looking at these pictures. Great show.
I used to quite like that. What did you make of the films?
Now, I loved the original movies they brought out with the Silver Surfer and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I never saw I suppose it was a reboot.
It was.
Because it failed. I am assuming. I've never seen it. I have no intention to, because I love the characters, and I liked Captain America playing in the Fantastic Four. That worked.
Yeah, I know Johnny Storm.
Yeah, I know it would seem, if someone watched that film now, at this point of watching Marvel movies, and they'll think, well, what's Captain America doing in Fantastic Four? Yeah,
but here's an interesting thing. Evidently, Chris Evans, who plays Captain America, was scheduled to do a cameo appearance in Deadpool 2 as Johnny Storm.
Oh, really? That would have been awesome.
that would have been awesome. They really should have done that. That would have been just such a good laugh. Yeah. And then they could have, but I did like the Deadpool sort of thing of, it's like, well, go and talk to Xavier. Now, is that the Stewart version or... But it is a completely different sort of style of movie as the Deadpool ones. But yeah, I mean, he did, Chris Evans did do a good Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
I thought. I mean, he looked so much younger as well.
That was back in 2005.
I know. A long time ago. And yet these films still feel quite new.
Yeah, I mean, you had Lohan Gufford, who played the main, the scientist.
Yeah. Reed Richards.
And I just loved Jessica Alba at the time. She was doing well in movies at the time there, and that was a good role. And
as Sue Storm.
Yeah, I think it was great, and it was a shame that they actually decided to reboot it.
Well, it was going to be a trilogy, so I understood originally, but just ended up being the two movies. But, I mean, again, this was another Lee and Kirby sort of like collaboration. The first big push into otherworldly adventures. And it's they had their own comic right from the off. Fantastic Four #1, dating back to November 1961.
Yeah.
They later went on to create the villains like Doctor Doom and Galactus.
Yeah, they were great. Really enjoyed them.
Yeah. I mean, Doctor Doom first appeared in Fantastic Four #5 back in July 1962, whereas in the movie, of course, he was with them on the station, wasn't he, when, they got bombarded by the cosmic rays.
Yeah. It's great stories, and just how did all this come out of one brain? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the other thing as well is Fantastic Four did their TV series.
Yeah.
Or the cartoon. They did a few episodes with Spider-Man and vice versa, I think.
Mm.
But also, we mentioned before the Silver Surfer. I really can't remember a lot about the Silver Surfer other than really liking him as a kid. And then when he was on, the second, the Fantastic Four movie, I thought that was absolutely brilliant.
Mm. If you had like a near pristine copy of 1963's X-Men, how much do you reckon it went for?
It went for cents, and I reckon it'll be a fantastic amount now.
$492,000.
Jesus.
And Avengers #1 sold for $274,000.
Wow. Having said that, though, I used to have the entire collection of the Star Wars ones, and they're worth a fortune now.
Yeah,
and it's like my mother threw them all out.
Yeah. Awful, isn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. Just for the sake of a bit of storage in a cupboard. I could have, had thousands of pounds now. Mind you, having said that, though, I probably wouldn't want to sell them. No, keep them. Will be worth even more later.
No, I think, I'd be so tempted at that sort of money.
Oh, yeah, so would I, actually. But, I mean, the Fantastic Four had loads of characters like Mole Man, Super Skull, Kang the Conqueror, Ronan the Accuser, Supreme Intelligence. So there was loads of different characters on there, But Doctor Doom was really, I think, although he dabbled with other superheroes. He was I always think of him as the main adversary to the Fantastic Four, a bit like Lex Luthor to Superman.
Oh, he was the nemesis as such, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. So another great creation we've already mentioned before, the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
So the Incredible Hulk first turned up in the Incredible Hulk #1, going back to May 1962. Together with Rick Jones, the love interest Betty Ross, and his angry father-in-law Thunderbolt Ross were all introduced in the initial issue. And it was Lee with John Buscema to create Jennifer Walters and the She-Hulk back in February 1980, which obviously had that first episode as well, or first issue as well. So, because I think the She-Hulk arose because Bruce Banner had to give a blood transfusion for his niece or something or other like that, if I remember rightly.
Okay.
But the difference was that Bruce Banner lost his intelligence when he became the Hulk, whereas Jennifer Walters maintained her knowledge, but she just had the body of the Hulk, or the female Hulk. So that was sort of like the difference between the two of them. But I mean, the Hulk, I think the Hulk was like the second proper sort of like superhero thing that was released around our time, of the 70s with, the Incredible Hulk TV series. And I used to love that.
It's funny because when you see how the comics all work out and you have these different characters that the Hulk will be fighting.
Yeah.
Basically, the TV series was the Hulk as a lone character in the universe, coming across daily dramas from week to week in the TV show, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was. It was sort of like a traveller's equivalent of, a travelling Hulk's equivalent of Coronation Street almost.
Yeah.
But it used to work so well. I mean, you never had the Hulk's main adversary, which was Abomination, appearing on it.
No.
But, Louis Ferrigno, he was brilliant in that. And he still looks so buff these days. Because evidently, when he was at Comics Con the other week in Scotland, it was his 67th birthday.
Jesus. And he's still quite a beefy guy, isn't he?
He is, and he looks so good for his age as well. You've got to hand it to the bloke. He keeps himself really fit.
Yeah.
I mean, physically fit, So, but I used to love the Hulk. What about the movies? What did you reckon about the movie version?
The first one I wasn't too keen on, but the thing is I get confused and they all blend into one.
Yeah.
So Edward Norton, wasn't it? Was he the first one?
No, he was the second one.
And he's the one I preferred.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I preferred Eric Banner's Hulk. But, Ed Norton, he was the second Hulk.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's just the way movies work these days. They will reboot if a film doesn't do so well. As much as you think it probably did do quite well.
I think all of this, because also don't forget, it wasn't Marvel really releasing it. It was Fox, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Even though, it wasn't part of the Marvel universe, cinematic universe, I mean. I just don't think that they had a clear vision of where they wanted to go. So the second Hulk movie was sort of a half-baked reboot of the first, or a half-baked sequel, because it took what it wanted to from the first one, but ignored the rest.
Yeah.
Which never worked for me, personally. No, it didn't work as a sequel. But equally, it didn't work on its own as well, I thought.
Yeah.
But I remember playing, watching them and still loving them, but just not as... To me, I much prefer the TV series to those ones. But I think that the Hulk nowadays, I mean, when you look at, like Thor Ragnarok, and, the whole Avengers sort of version of the Hulk, I like the way that they've done the character now, and it feels more natural to the Hulk.
Well, it's funny how this over the last I don't know when was Iron Man? 10 years ago now.
More than that.
Is it really?
The original Iron Man movie was going back. Oh no, it's 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had. I think this last 10 years has probably been its best spell.
Yeah.
We've had movies from different studios, from Sony with Spider-Man, of course, because they sort of owned that. And then the Hulk from another studio, and so on and so forth. But the way money's talked and the way people allow these characters to blend together into just one, it's just done so well, and obviously it's just taken over the movie industry in the last 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's redefined the superhero genre, haven't they? Really?
I know. I know. I might think that it's gone a bit too much, because we have that saturation of movies over certain years, and it's like we don't need to talk about Star Wars, but do you know what I mean? It's it's thrusted down our throats to no end, and superhero movies is more prominent now than comedy movies, which is a big genre in itself. But just at the moment, everything's we get comedy in the superhero movies, but it's just the way it's gone. It's really weird.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, liking superheroes, you were a nerd and a weirdo. Do you know what I mean?
But now it's more mainstream. I mean,
well, now geek is chic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you could take your missus to a Marvel movie and she'd be okay watching it.
Not my missus.
Well, mine would.
I'd have to strap her to the chair and do a sort of like Clockwork Orange thing on it, to be honest, because my missus has no tolerance for anything like that, which is fine, because whenever she goes to see a film, she talks right the way through it anyway. Can get really embarrassing when you're in the cinema.
Okay.
But here's a question for you. What colour did the Hulk first appear as?
Purple?
Nope, grey. Originally, Stanley and Jack Kirby had wanted the Hulk to be grey, but there was a problem with the printing press, and it kept having trouble with the Hulk's colour, and it kept coming up as green. So they only spent the first few episodes being grey in colour. Crazy,
isn't it?
Yeah. So how about that? I mean, one of the most iconic things about the Hulk is the fact that he's green. I mean, it ended up being because of an accident.
Well, because I know you think he would be red. If he's going to be angry, you'd be red, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And green's envy. But
yeah.
But yeah, how bizarre.
But nowadays, when you think of gamma radiation, what colour do you think of?
Yeah,
green.
Yeah.
Even though it's actually invisible to our eyes.
Yeah.
So it's a strange thing how there is a perfect example of how pop culture has stained our belief system. And programmed us to think, oh, it's green, therefore it must be gamma radiation when you look at a film or something like that. There's no scientific basis to it at all. Anyway.
Crazy.
Next one, Daredevil.
Passed me by, really.
Yeah, did me pretty much as well. He was sort of like someone who was also in the Spider-Man universe sort of proximity. Fought Kingpin the same as Spider-Man did every now and again.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, but was never one that I was really that sort of interested in. Daredevil goes back to 1964 from Daredevil #1, and basically co-created with Bill Everett, and it also featured Foggy Nelson, Karen Page and Jack Murdoch, which is obviously his dad, which appeared in flashback. So, but other characters, Owl, Purple Man, Stilt Man, Gladiator, and Vanessa Fisk, none of which are really that familiar to me because I'm just not invested in the Daredevil kind of universe. It's something, I don't even watch it on Netflix, do you?
No, I don't have no intention at all with Daredevil. There's a few of those Marvel TV shows that I just got no interest in, to be honest. There's Jessica Jones, for example, isn't it?
Yeah, I've watched a few of them, but I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, and then you had Iron Fist.
Luke Cage. Iron Fist, yeah. Well, Iron Fist's been cancelled now.
Yeah, I could have told him that, but he started it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mind you, having said that though, to me, I'm surprised that you said that, because to me, whenever I watched it, it kind of had a bit of an Arrow-y kind of feel to it. So I'm surprised that you've said I could have told you that one would go, when to me it felt like Arrow. It felt similar sort of setup, as it were, because it was sort of somebody who's come back after being missing for a long time and now suddenly has, these, amazing abilities.
Yeah.
So Arrow has the firing arrows. Iron Fist has this ability with his fist, but effectively speaking, there's a lot of similarities between the two, and the shows are quite similar, but Arrow's the one that succeeded there.
Oh, wow.
But this goes back down to my theory of, I think that DC do TV better and Marvel do movies better.
At the moment, yes.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason for this. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But they're saying that I haven't got into, tough tangent here, but I haven't really got into the TV shows properly just yet. I've been too busy. I've been catching up with some of them, but I haven't been able to really dive into Arrow or Legends, which I'm going to maybe regret, but...
No, to be honest, I think you'll probably regret diving into Legends. It's awful this year.
But I will. I will watch them. But it's
Yeah.
That's for another. That's for another show.
Fairy godmothers and unicorns. Just no. If it had been Doctor Strange, I might have been forgiving. But no, not on Legends. It doesn't work. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
So, the one that really kicked the MCU off then, Iron Man.
Yeah, 10 years ago for us. Blimey.
Yeah, so Lee and Kirby introduced Iron Man in Tales of Suspense number 39 back in 1939. 1939 was a damn good time for starting stuff, wasn't it, really? Oh, sorry, 69, not 39. So episode number 39.
Yeah, 63.
Oh, issue number 39. The year was 1963.
Yeah.
Get it the right way
I didn't get to know much about Iron Man really until I knew of him, but no time invested again. Not until we got to see him in the movies, to be honest.
I would say I actually became aware of Iron Man, really, not until I was in my early 20s. Because Iron Man, Thor, and basically the Avengers, with the exception of the Hulk, were all B-side superheroes, for want of a better term.
Yeah, it's funny because the thing is, I do remember Thor actually reading the comics in the 70s. Now, whether that's because they were in crossover comics with Hulk, so it may well have been.
Maybe.
That I do remember.
I mean, you see, to me, the big two Marvel ones were Spider-Man. Well, so big three. Spider-Man, the Hulk, and the Fantastic Four. And everybody else... It was sort of like they were the warm-up acts for those three.
Yeah, I think Thor is just as big now. I think because of the popularity and the way that character's been has expanded, especially through the movies.
I mean, all of these characters now, they're all such big. But I mean, Tony Stark, Iron Man. I think that the way that they've done it in the films is really good. I think that they hit the formula right with it. And Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Tony Stark, he's perfect for that role.
Yeah, you couldn't see him. Well, I say he does play Sherlock Holmes, but you can't see him playing anything else, can you?
I every time I think about Robert Downey Jr., I think Iron Man. And it's like, when you think, it could have been so much different because Tom Cruise was almost offered the role.
But was he too short?
Well, that's why he's got off Jack Reacher.
I know. I just made that quip.
Yeah, but no, I mean he's absolutely perfect for it, because I mean in real life, Robert Downey Jr. when he was younger was a bit of a bad boy. He had
the same sort of temperament as Kiefer Sutherland. There was a few bad boys at the time in the 80s.
Yeah,
he was another one. But if you go and watch. What was the film now? Weird Science. And you see him in that as just a teenage squirt,
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. I don't know, he turned out to be who he is now. Unbelievable.
I know. and if only it was us.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it'd been fantastic to have been at, play Iron Man on screen, wouldn't it, if you think about it?
He has got such a persona, though, and how he comes across. So he has that cockiness that he gives to the character.
Yeah.
And he's great. And the day that Iron Man hangs up his cape, we're going to call it a cape, but it's not really.
His rocket boots.
His rocket boots, yeah. Will be a shame.
And his arc reactor.
Yeah. Because I don't know how more he'll be doing. I'm not sure where that's going to go yet. There's rumours of all sorts. But
well, we've got questions later on about where we think it's going to go, so we'll stick to that later. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, in terms of Iron Man, a few episodes later, you would get characters like Happy Hogan, Pepper Potts, both appeared in September 1963, Mandarin, who obviously was the bad guy in Iron Man 3, but the Mandarin was not the person who you thought it was in Iron Man 3, because it was Guy Pearce. Edwin Jarvis, Madam Mask, Whiplash, all of those sort of characters. I mean, the last couple of ones there I don't remember personally, but I wasn't a big fan of Iron Man back in the day, but I would say he's probably one of my favourites now. So, and linked very closely with Iron Man because obviously they're in the Avengers is Thor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Thor first appeared in Mystery number 83 back in August 1962.
Yeah.
And Jane Foster appeared in the next episode, or issue. I have to remember it's an issue when it's comics, it's an episode when it's a TV series.
Yeah.
But also the host of other characters, so there's Balder, Hemidal, Loki, Odin, they all appeared in number 85. And then there's so many others, Sif, Hela, the list goes on of all of those characters.
And I know none of them other than Loki, really.
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean about the fact that Thor was more of a second-rate superhero. He would appear in other people's adventures more than you would go out and look for him. I don't really remember a Thor comic.
Well, I remember seeing them, as I say. I think I saw them as in with teaming up with the Hulk and that. I remember. But say we had limited resources those days, in that it's difficult to say that kids today would have the internet and have got an unlimited amount of knowledge that they can grasp hold of regarding these sort of genres.
Yeah,
but we're relying on what we pick up in our newsagent, not comic book store.
Yeah, you had to be either go to the library or go to the newsagent. So that was how you did your research back in the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think about the movie version of Thor now? Do you like it?
No, I think
the character Chris Hemsworth.
I think he's done a great job. As I said, I thought the comedy in Ragnarok was a little bit too much for me.
That's what I liked about Ragnarok, because it did have that sense of humour about the whole thing. Yeah,
I didn't mind having a sense of humour, but I thought there was a bit too much in it myself. I liked it when he said, "Oh, we worked together," and whatever he was doing with it, and then in that arena, for example.
Yeah, he's a friend from work.
Yeah, that was so clever. Oh, really? Yeah. But I just liked it to be a little bit more serious. Maybe I'd probably like it for more of a darker version, maybe. But no, it was still good, though.
Well, I mean, they tried that with the previous one, didn't they? And that kind of didn't really work.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it that much, to be quite honest. But interestingly enough, I've forgotten what she's called, who played Jane Foster. But evidently she didn't want to come back for any more. She didn't enjoy the role.
Yeah.
So, which is a bit, it's a bit strange that you stick yourself up into, you've come from Star Wars, and then you go, okay, well, I don't want a role that's going to get me stereotyped, so I'll go into the next biggest franchise that I can find. Just doesn't make sense to me at all, but
yeah,
there we go. So next one, Doctor Strange. Did you know much about Doctor Strange?
I knew of him, not too much though, but the creation for the movie, it is one of my favourites.
Yes.
I am a big Benedict Cumberbatch fan anyway. I think he's a great actor. Although, to be honest, I must admit in the first 15, 20 minutes, I had to come to terms with an American accent that I weren't too keen on.
Yeah, that it kind of was a bit of a mistake.
It grated me a bit, to be honest. But once you got into it, now when I watch that film now for a second time, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
but it was that just initial reaction on that first 20 minutes or so of the film that I'm thinking, I'm not too sure about this. But when I see his little quips and how the character works now, I mean, yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I think he played a really good part in that. Evidently, though, Doctor Strange, for those people who are real big fans of Doctor Strange, and I can't say that I was, although I have to say, out of them, he was always my favourite, but I didn't know much about him because there wasn't a lot about. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean, I wasn't aware of how he became Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I just was aware that he was, and that he had this really cool cape and stuff like that.
I thought he was a bit of a wizard, but I didn't know the rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah, well, evidently the film did cause a bit of a controversy because Tilda Swinton, played the Ancient One.
Yeah, she's an oddball character.
Yeah, but the thing was, the Ancient One was originally a male character.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. So it caused a little bit of controversy. Because that
actress, she's got a weird look.
Yeah,
I can't put my finger on it. I mean, even when I saw her in with DiCaprio in The Beach, I don't know if you remember that movie. I
never watched it, to be honest.
It's quite a good film, but she was head of the tribe that lived in this island where the beach is based on, for where it was, and there's this group of people, and she was very similar then as well. She's got that weird look. I can't put my finger on it.
To be honest, she's got one of those faces that is a bit genderless.
She's not got prominent features to say she's male or female.
I mean, I'm looking at a picture of her right now that's on IMDb.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. You'd be hard-pressed to really know whether or not, if you didn't know who she was, whether she was actually male or female on this picture. It's just, if you ever look at that one I've just sent you, it's, on Skype. You can't really ttell from that.
Looks like a teenage boy.
I think that's more to do with the haircut.
Could be, yeah.
But I don't know. She's a strange sort of character, isn't she?
But if you go and look at images from her in The Beach, she is very much a woman in that, you can tell. But there are some. Yeah, you ought to watch that movie. It is a really good film. I mean, DiCaprio was really young in that film, and it's a good book as well. So very much a sort of a cult movie these days. But yeah.
Yeah, interesting. But I mean, I actually liked her take on it. I thought she was very good in that character. And,
it probably suited her down to the ground, to be honest. This mysterious sort of ancient monk-like character.
Yeah.
And very similar to how we had them in Batman Begins when Bruce Wayne was up there in the mountains at that time.
Yeah,
You could have thrown her in there as well. She'd have been right at home.
Like Ra's al Ghul, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. So, another one, the big one from last year, Black Panther.
Yeah, that went over my head, because I didn't know it existed, to be honest.
Do you know what? I'll hold my hands up. I actually didn't know he existed at all. But anyway, T'Challa, the King of Wakanda, was created by Lee and Kirby again. First debuted in Fantastic Four number 52 back in July 1966. And his father and Ulysses Claw appeared in the next issue. So, been around for years, but not one that was really prominent in anything that I ever saw. And when he appeared on the MCU, I thought, wow, he looks really quite cool. And I really enjoyed the movie, but, I thought it was one of the best ones that they've done, but, he was one that certainly in this neck of the woods, there was no visibility on that character at all. So, not much more to say. Anything you want to add?
No, because I've not even seen the movie yet. It sits in my...
Have you not?
No, it's sitting in my box on the Skybox. And I really can't be bothered. I've seen...
You've got to get on that.
I mean, I'm up to date with the Avengers and everything else. But I really can't be bothered, honestly.
But it gives you some of the context for the last Avengers movie.
I know.
You've got to watch it.
I really can't.
Your homework for next week.
No, do you know what? My homework for next week would be playing Fallout 76 because I haven't had much of a chance yet. But yeah, anyway, moving on.
Anyway, so Inhumans, another creation. So Lee Kirby created the royal family of Atalan. I always think Matalan, I don't know why. Slightly different thing.
Yeah.
So introduced the Queen Medusa back in Fantastic Four originally, then then Gorgon, Black Bolt, and we're in 44 and 45 respectively, and Karnak, Crystal and Lockjaw all appeared in 45 as well. They also had this TV series which unfortunately got cancelled, but the guy who plays King Black Bolt is actually going to be the captain on Discovery this next series.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be actually quite nice to hear his voice because he didn't talk at all. Because every time he talked, he tended to sort of like vaporise people on Inhumans. But Atalan was like a city on the moon where all of the Inhumans lived, and it was in the same universe as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I didn't come to grasp with Inhumans, to be honest. It's not really...
Yeah. I think this is probably one of the things where you've got some of these more... Because I think Inhumans, it's a bit more extreme in terms of it as a show.
Well, I think the only reason they did it because what they're doing, again, it's this cash cow. They're milking every Marvel character they can bring up ever set foot on a comic book.
But then again, when you think about all of the sort of like millions and millions of pounds that Disney has paid for all of these Marvel characters, you can't blame them. So they've got to get return on investment.
No, but I don't think some of them work as well as they think they will do.
No, and things like Inhumans I just didn't think worked well. Might have worked well in a comic, but not on a TV series.
Yeah.
So, what about Ant-Man?
I knew of Ant-Man. I didn't know too much. I knew he shrank and what have you, but it wasn't again until the movie came out. I knew who he was and what he did.
Yeah.
I didn't know the backstory too much, but I enjoyed the first movie.
I did. But here's something interesting. Lee Kirby introduced Hank Pym in Tales to Astonish, number 27, back in January 1962.
Yeah, they're all kicking age, aren't they?
Yeah, when you think about almost all of the superheroes that Stan Lee created was by the time he was 39. But, he sort of like invented a lot of his, core ones earlier in his career. But Hank Pym, his various identities were introduced throughout the 60s because Hank Pym was actually played by Michael Douglas in the Ant-Man movies.
That's
Scott
right.
Lang is Paul Rudd, and he wasn't the original Ant-Man. So the Ant-Man in the comic strip was actually Michael Douglas's character.
Yeah.
Going back, which fits in with the timeline in terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because when you think about when he was old enough or young enough to be Ant-Man, it would have been, well, maybe a bit later than the 60s, but, earlier on. But, Ant-Man didn't actually turn up for several episodes after Hank Pym did, because Hank Pym turned up in number 27 and Ant-Man turned up in number 35. So that's 8 months later.
Yeah, I haven't watched Ant-Man and the Wasp yet. Must admit I haven't had a chance to see that movie.
Oh, you want to watch that? And I'll tell you something as well. That film, at the moment, I mean, it's not as comedic as Ragnarok, but that movie, I think, is setting things up for Phase 4. Because at the moment, what it feels like is it's happening in the MCU, and everything that we know of is going on around it, and it's referenced, but it's not interacting with any of it. And I think that there are certain things, particularly in the post-credit scenes, that will be integral to the rest of the Phase 4 of the MCU. Or at least in terms of rebalancing the universe after the big snap.
Yeah.
Personal opinion.
I say I haven't got Scoobies, to be honest, but yeah, there's a long way to go yet with what they're doing with the movies, and who knows?
Yeah. Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Do you know what? I loved it, and I only got to a certain point, and I've stopped watching it.
You need to watch that again. It got better after season 2.
I mean, I only remember it. I can't remember where it was I got up to, but there was. Is it Star, the character?
Star.
Who was the one that someone made everyone sort of turn into stone and disintegrate?
I can't remember that. Which character that was, to be honest.
And that was sort of end of one season, and yeah, I did enjoy it because I liked it because it was like a nod to while you were watching the movies, you had a character there that was a very minimal character that would always knock on Tony Stark's door. But he was there and annoying sometimes, but you felt there was some love for that character.
Yeah, Agent Coulson.
Yeah, and then seeing him in getting this TV show as well. I think that's why it works well, because you would take it from the movies and it would be a sort of a second string to it. Yeah. But yeah, really good. And yeah, maybe I don't think it's time to watch whatever. It's too much TV to watch these days, and not enough time to play games either. So
yeah, well, I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. first appeared in Tales to Astonish, which went back to 1960. See,
again, yeah,
massively old thing again, but there were much more like spy cliches and plot. Complicated plots and gimmicks and all of that sort of thing. Bit more James Bondy, as it were, than they are. But the comic version of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually appeared in 2016, and it was inspired by the TV series.
Right.
So that's a weird thing. So, but I love the TV show, to be honest. I think that they've got a good blend of characters in there as well, some of which don't necessarily get to the next season. There is a little bit of like The Walking Dead, we're not afraid to kill somebody off or do weird things with them, sort of approach. But yeah,
but you're up to season 7 now of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, but it's going to be the last season.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and it's only going to be half a season. They've already said that in the the big culling of shows. And it's not going to appear until after the resolution of the big snap.
So they're going to join it. They're going to join it in somewhere.
Yeah, because what happened in Captain America: not Civil War, The Winter Soldier, had a direct impact on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because that was when the Hydra took over S.H.I.E.L.D., basically.
Well, talking about that, I don't know if there's much more you want to say about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No.
Peggy Carter.
Yes.
Now, I was gutted that they cancelled that show.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I absolutely loved it, and it was great seeing the backstory to Iron Man's dad.
Yeah.
And how that was fitted together as well during the war. I really enjoyed that show, but I was really miffed that they actually cancelled it. I just gutted about that.
Yeah, and actually it was I quite liked the Jarvis character, who was a real person in that as well.
Yeah, that was great. Really good.
But obviously Sharon Carter, she was in the Avengers movie, wasn't she? Oh, sorry, Civil War, rather. Yeah,
and it all just blended well together there. Because obviously when you get to see her really old, when he was really young, obviously because he was frozen at the time. And yeah, touching, very touching.
I mean, other characters that we haven't mentioned, people like Groot, he appeared back in 1960 in Tales of the Astonishing. Nick Fury as Sergeant Fury in his Howling Commandos #1 back in May 1963. Hawkeye appeared in Tales of Suspense #56 in 64. The Collector, who, you know, he was in the MCU, on several different movies, and he, including Guardians of the Galaxy, and The Collector, he appeared in the Avengers #28 back in 66. And the big one that we're all waiting for, Captain Marvel, first appeared in Marvel Superheroes #12 back in 67. And even Falcon, who to me is probably out of all of the Avengers the one that I like the least.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but he just doesn't, as a character, he straps on a few wings and then he flies about. That's about all he seems to do. Yeah. He was in Captain America #117 back in 69. But Falcon is actually really important because Captain America does die in the comics, and Falcon takes a stint as being Captain America, as does Bucky Barnes. So
I always assumed Captain Marvel was a male character.
Yeah.
But it's a woman, so it's something I didn't, not knowing the backstory about how that was going to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, look forward to that in March next year.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Some other achievements. Obviously, he made Lucky Man, Stan Lee's Lucky Man, with Harry Clayton. That's started off in 2016, and that's quite a good show.
Yeah, I've been meaning to sit and watch the box set. It does look interesting.
It's about a guy who gets somehow wakes
lucky.
up one morning. He's got a lucky bracelet on that he can't get off. Yeah. So, and he always gets good luck, but maybe not in a way that he would want. And there can be collateral damage or whatever.
Not how you'd wish for anyway, to put it that way.
Yeah. But when you actually look at the MCU movies, just moving on to those, because obviously he's appeared in most of these as well. Phase 1, Iron Man. The Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and Marvel's The Avengers. Phase 2, Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, which was darker, but it, literally in every way, but wasn't as good, I think. Captain America the Winter Soldier, which was an excellent movie. Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man closed off Phase 2. Phase 3, Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, and then closing off with Ant-Man and the Wasp again. There seems to be a bit of a thing going on with closing off phases with Ant-Man, doesn't there, for the last couple of phases?
Yeah, maybe that was just the way the productions went.
Yeah, or maybe there's a reason.
Who knows, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So, anyway, anything else that you want to add to that?
Not really. I mean, it's a great loss. He had a good innings at his age. He won't be forgotten for sure, and his memory will live on in all those comics long past the time when we're 6 feet under. I know that for sure.
Yeah, I think he's cemented his name in history with what he's created.
And luckily, he's already filmed or had filmed for the next movie his sequence, hasn't he? So
I understand he's actually shot several of them.
Has he? Okay, I knew there was at least one. I weren't sure how many.
No, I think it's somewhere between 2 and 4 that he's done.
So we'll still get to see him in a little bit.
Yeah, it'll be nice to be able to see him. And to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't consider CGIing him in.
Well, I don't know. Well,
to be honest, I could imagine he would want to be CGI'd in, and I could imagine his family would want to support him being CGI'd in as well.
Maybe.
But anyway, what we'll do is, I asked the question because we were doing a special themed show, and we've got some special themed questions.
John, what's happening to us?
All right, so kicking us off, as he always does, Mark has sent us 2 questions. So, which Stan Lee creation, not having made it yet, would you like to see in a game? I'll let you answer that, Steve.
Thank you for that. Even though I've seen them because obviously we've had fighting game characters
Yeah.
I'd like to see the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
That would be good.
I
Definitely.
say we did have them in one of the fighting games I played. Can't remember which one it was now.
Yeah.
And I think they had a lot of Marvel characters, and I can't even remember what it was now. It's a long time ago, but they'd have to work well. Some of these games they could fall flat on their backsides, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit too easily as well, I think.
Whether we've had Superman games, haven't we, and all sorts, and I think the only ones that really have stood up so far have been Batman.
Mm.
But yeah, what about yourself? What do you think?
How about having a sort of L.A. Noire style Peggy Carter game?
That would work because you could have it in that same. It'd be in that same sort of era, wouldn't it?
That's what I was thinking.
Mm.
So, you could have it in that sort of setting, sort of like Second World War-ish, or put just slightly post-Second World War, where, the story is about hunting down the last of Hydra, or what you think is the last of Hydra.
Mm.
That sort of thing. And you could have Tony Stark's dad coming in with lots of interesting gadgets and stuff like that. That would work quite well.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
I'd go for that. I'd buy that for $1.
I'd buy it for $1 as well. So anybody who wants to make that game, just please remember you heard the idea from me. And I'll have I'll have, say, like 1% of the cut. I don't care. All right, do you want to do my second question?
Yeah, so he's saying here, what is your prediction for the future of Marvel and all that it's related to? Well, I think it would be going strong well past our lifetimes.
Oh, yeah.
The comics will still be going. If there are paperback comics, then it'll probably will be on a Kindle then. By then, I think.
I think most of them already are now, to be quite honest, Steve.
Yeah. But no, I think it will flourish. I think the movies will help that as well.
Yeah. I think eventually we'll meet critical mass with the movies and they'll start to slow down. And I think that the movies will eventually be one every year rather than, or maybe one every other year rather than every 2 a year.
Yeah.
And I actually feeling about it because I feel like we've slowed down a bit now because it feels like ages since Ant-Man was released. Ant-Man and the Wasp, rather.
Yeah.
So I think that they've slowed them down a little bit. How much, I don't know, because I haven't really looked at a calendar. But I do think, I think that there's only so much that you can take, and I think we were reaching close to that. But I think when Phase 4 starts to kick in, that'll be when the excitement starts to. I think they've naturally slowed it down here so that when you get to the big snap, you're thinking, what is going to happen? Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And I think that's quite intentional as part of the timeline. Just try and maybe let you take stock and then get prepared for the comeback.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, okay. Next question. Nikki Wilson has asked, what theories do you have about Avengers 4? How are they going to explain the ending of Infinity War, and who do you think is going to be permanently killed? Any of you, Steve?
Well, I think at least one character's dead for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gamora.
Yeah. Unless we do the good old Doctor Who reboot with a button and they just do a go back in time thing.
Well, there is a time stone.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, Scarlet Witch killed Vision,
yeah,
and then he just reversed time.
Is it too obvious?
Why?
That this is how they're going to reboot it to get everyone back?
It's better than walking out of a shower and say the last year was just a dream.
Oh, well, God, yeah. But
that's a Dallas reference there, folks.
We'll have to wait and see. But I still think there'd be something to do with time to bring it all back, and it will be down to Captain Marvel to do that.
I think Captain Marvel is going to take over from Tony Stark as the unofficial lead of the Avengers.
Mm.
Certainly, that's my first thought. I think what we will see is Captain America die, and I think Bucky Barnes will become Captain America. I think Tony Stark...
Are we going to lose Iron Man?
Yes and no. I have a feeling what's going to happen is Tony Stark is going to not survive it in a corporeal sense.
Mm.
I think what will happen is that they'll do something like he'll have this failsafe where he can upload his consciousness and his memories into technology, so that
maybe,
he can be an advisor and he can be in the background like Jarvis, as it were. And I think he'll become more of a Jarvis character, but I think his body will die, but his intelligence will live on. Yeah. that to me, I don't know, I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
But it kind of feels like the right thing because, you know, I don't think Robert Downey Jr. has actually said he doesn't want to do any more. Chris Evans has definitely said he doesn't want to do any more.
Well, he's actually tweeted that out that he's finished his final scene. So.
Well, again, that could be just I finished the final scenes on this movie. You know,
the way he come across saying, well, you know, thanks for all that, I really appreciate it. And that sounds like that's that.
Maybe, but maybe that's also been a deliberate misnomer as well.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, because they do stuff like this as well. They do like giving you false ideas. But, I mean, we know that Robert Downey Jr. is committed now to the new Sherlock Holmes movie as well, the third in his series of that. But I kind of have a feeling that that it'll be Captain America that'll bite the big one. I do think Gamora will come back. I think that rather than her dying, I think that in order for the Soul Stone to be found, her soul had to go into the stone. Yeah, you know where she gets kicked off that precipice. Yeah. So I think that was how it was released, and how the Soul Stone was released, and I think that'll be how they'll be able to get it back as well. That and a bit of use of the Time Stone and stuff like that. But I think that everybody who was affected by the big click, I think all of that, they were all in that stone. I think that the stone's sort of like a way of holding on to souls. And so they just need to be released from it. I don't know. Just a theory.
Yeah. Okay. All done?
Yeah.
So, we got Nicky also got a second question. We haven't have two, have we? Okay.
Well, we don't have hard and fast rules about that.
No. So what's your favourite pre- and post-Iron Man 2008 Marvel movie? He votes for Blade and Guardians of the Galaxy.
I would say pre would be the 2002 Spider-Man, and I would say post would be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
If I'm going to go pre, it will be Spider-Man.
Post?
It's difficult. Pre, I go Spider-Man 1 and 2, because I didn't like 3 that much.
Yeah, 3 was the Return of the Jedi of that trilogy.
Yeah, and post, I would say Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2.
Yeah, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I think they're absolutely brilliant, but I like 2 better because of all of the characters that they had in there. And
well, it's got Kurt Russell. What more do you want?
Well, exactly. No film is ever made any worse by sticking Kurt Russell in it.
He is a star. He's an absolute legend, that guy.
He is. Okay, Alan Cochrane has asked, who would win in a fight between Logan and Batman?
Well, if Batman can come a cropper with Catwoman occasionally, and she's only got little thimbles on the end of her fingers as talons, I think Logan will kick his ass.
Yeah, I have to admit, I think that Batman would be pretty screwed, to be quite honest with you, because Logan would make him a shish kebab.
He would be sliced and diced.
Yeah.
And then chopped up into little beanie bits.
Yeah, because all that, Batman might have a whole arsenal of equipment that he can throw at Logan, but Logan will just heal, come back, and then stick his adamantium claws straight through the eye sockets of his cowl.
Yeah. As much as it pains me to say it, because I do love Batman.
But, well, let's face it, he would, wouldn't he? Or he would, shove his, adamantium claws up through his mouth.
Honestly, he couldn't cope with Catwoman, could he?
No.
When Michelle Pfeiffer was doing it in Batman Returns, he couldn't cope with that. So yeah,
let's face it, though, he might have been a bit distracted. It was Michelle Pfeiffer.
True. Yeah, I've got a story for another day, but yeah, absolutely.
That sounds intriguing.
No, I just saw Michelle Pfeiffer last night. Now, it doesn't mean I saw her in the street or I saw her on TV and I was watching a movie, which I don't want to repeat right now because it's I'd be ranting. But
okay,
anyway.
tell me offline.
I will. Okay, so Richard Morlock's
No,
asking
Luke
us.
Fieldhouse.
Oh, sorry, Luke. I do apologise. What's the most emotional response you've had from the page of a comic book?
I'm going to say Superman versus Doomsday, where Superman dies.
I don't think I've had much of an emotional response via the comic book itself.
Well, I think yeah, I know what you mean because neither do I. It's not like I was bawling in tears or anything like that.
Oh, Mummy, look at this! Look, I'm making this. Look.
No, it wasn't the death of Han Solo and my son touching me on the arm and saying, "Are you all right, Dad?"
I knew you had to drag that in here somehow, wouldn't you?
That was an emotional response. I was blubbing like a baby after he did
No,
that.
as much as when I saw Luke Skywalker walk over that precipice at the end of that Star Wars movie, I was crying. Oh my God!
Yeah,
It's Luke! Look! On screen, big.
we're sad acts, aren't we?
Terrible.
But yeah, because Superman, he'd been there for years. He was like such a cultural icon of the 70s with Christopher Reeve. And just the whole thing of they've killed Superman. I mean, they brought him back.
Yeah,
Let's face it, that was never not on the.
I'm not going to say. I'm going to go sort of I'm going to talk about the future.
Yeah.
And when we see whatever movie we see in Iron Man, if he ends up dying or something, I don't think I'll be able to cope with that on the screen.
Well, if we're talking, I mean,
I think that would be for me. That would be very emotional.
Yeah. Have you actually seen the episode of The Hulk where the Hulk dies? The TV series.
I can't remember. I may well have done. I can't remember. It's such a long time ago now.
It wasn't really a series. It was more like
It was special, wasn't it? Like
yeah. And it had Thor on, actually, thinking about it. But it was called The Death of the Incredible Hulk. And it was the death of the Incredible Hulk. And that was quite emotional because that was like, from my childhood to my adulthood sort of thing. Anyway.
Yeah, we're sad individuals, aren't we?
We are. But we're happy being sad individuals. So, Richard Mortlock, which character is your favourite or most favourite Marvel superhero?
I'm probably going to have to say Spider-Man from the days of being a kid.
From the days of being a kid, I would agree completely. Spider-Man was the superhero.
But what we've now got to live with over the last 10 years, it's very difficult.
It is, because I don't think I could really separate the Hulk, Thor, Iron Man. I don't think I could separate or Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I was going to say you missed on Doctor Strange there as well, because they are all, as much as some of them didn't get a lot of screen time in the Avenger movies, they're great, all of them.
Yeah, definitely. But also Wolverine as well, because
that's again that's just a different scenario altogether, isn't it? And to be honest, I'm going to say this though: when I watched Logan, that did give me an emotional response. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Did you watch it in black and white?
Yeah, I've watched it both. I've watched both versions.
I've yet to watch the black and white version, but
it puts a little different take on it. Put a bit of noir into it, should we say? But fantastic movie.
Yeah, definitely one of the best out of the non-MCU ones.
Yeah. Right, so we've got one question left.
Okay.
So George Pav, I'm going to call him short for Pav anyway. In this recent Spider-Man game being exclusive, he would say that, wouldn't he?
George is unable to actually write a sentence without the word exclusive in, especially when it has the PlayStation.
Did you see? Yeah, did you see that Facebook of that cat attacking him?
Well, it's like the other day when he put on Facebook something about. Oh, was it? No, it was Craig, wasn't it? He put on about Sony not coming up to the next E3, and I said, well, it wasn't because it wasn't exclusive enough.
Do you know what got appreciated? Because obviously we're not here to talk about PlayStation or Xbox as such.
No.
But we've got the Black Friday sales on at the moment, haven't we?
Yeah.
And Spider-Man, is it £34 at the moment?
That's still quite a price, isn't it? But is that for the full version?
That's just for Spider-Man. I don't think it includes any DLC. I'll have to double check that. I mean, we'll talk about games next week, but Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. There's some good little deals out there.
Have you got Spider-Man?
No, I haven't actually. No,
you need to get it
because I got something else which was about which was a blinding deal for me anyway. But
yes,
that's for next week.
so finishing off George's question then.
So as you've played Spider-Man.
I have. So, well, shall we finish off what his sentence was? Because we got stopped at exclusive.
Yeah. So, because that just took us right off. So, is it the best video game of all time?
No, it's not the best video game of all time. But it is good.
But is it the best Marvel video game of all time?
Out of the current crop. Yeah.
So where would you put Legos? Where would you put the Lego games in this?
Oh, I was just thinking of the Lego games as well, but to be quite honest, I think that the Lego sort of games are a little bit too formulaic at the moment. It's like a factory churning them out.
Well, that's why they've gone stale for me anyway. But
yeah, that's what I mean.
We're not going to go into that right now. But do you think this one's really the cream of the top now? It's really the top, the Spider-Man game.
Well,
you finished it and.
Oh yeah, platinum the game. I mean, in terms of all of the Marvel games that are out right now, so that's the X-Men games that are out there from the last gen. That's the Iron Man 1 and 2, which were also on last gen. And the Wolverine game, which was on last gen. And the Hulk game, which was on the gen before. Yes, it's the best of the current crop.
Yeah.
But that's sort of like... that's sort of like saying, is the latest Spider-Man film the best film, comparison to the TV series sort of thing? Because it's, video games aren't as easy to compare to films, film for film, as it were, because the technology moves on and so on and so forth. I don't think it's the best video game of all time. I think it's a really good version of the genre. I think it very well captures Peter Parker to the point of I actually quite enjoy playing Peter Parker's character on it. I like the fact that you can also play Mary Jane Watson and other characters in it as well. There's lots of variety, and the sensation of swinging through New York is fantastic.
I mean, I did play the one before that, which wasn't a bad game. Wasn't a great game, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But I will at some point look forward to. I mean, I've got to be honest. I don't think I need to even have it in my collection right now because there's too many other games to play.
The new Spider-Man game builds on all of the best bits of the previous ones.
Yeah,
because there's been a couple of Spider-Man games.
Okay.
So, also Nikki. Nikki also put up a poll. So, and we didn't get massive as a response, but in terms of who's the best superheroes,
well, we don't need
from Marvel,
we don't need to say how the poll went. We can just give you you can do the top.
Yeah. So the top ones, top three: Blade, followed by Spider-Man, very close, followed by a little bit more of a gap, and Thor, and then just below that was Deadpool, because we haven't really mentioned Deadpool either. But
well, it's, take it or leave it, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's very Marmite, but seeing as that you like Marmite.
Oh, yeah, I do. I had a bit of Marmite taste before we started the show, didn't I? Because I haven't had my dinner yet. Yeah.
But what we've got to remember is Deadpool wasn't created by Stan Lee. It was, it was different artists who created Deadpool. So that's why we haven't listed them. We've already talked about characters who have been created by or co-created by Stan Lee. So don't turn around and say, well, you never mentioned Blade, because he wasn't created by Stan Lee. Stan Lee may have been the chief executive officer at Marvel, but doesn't mean he's accredited as a creator.
No, absolutely.
So anyway. So, hope you've enjoyed this special. It's been a little bit different. We haven't done a special for ages, and it's quite nice just standing outside of the normal formula for the show and just, coming along and doing something like this. So, just wish it could have been under better circumstances. But, Stan Lee, we had to recognise really about all of his contributions to pop culture, because him and George Lucas are probably two of the most seminal figures in pop culture, really, in terms of all of the references that they've managed to generate between the two of them.
Oh, I could probably think of a couple more, but we're not into a fight right now.
No. And I'm not saying that because I know that you would say several other people, and I bet I could even name some of those people as well. But they are two of the most prominent names in there, together with others. I'm not saying that there isn't others there. To avoid a fight.
No, look, I'm on Just Eat the minute trying to organise a takeaway for tonight.
Oh, well, there you go.
Dinner.
So
the poll is it curry or is it Chinese tonight?
Chinese.
No, I don't really fancy Chinese tonight.
So why did you say, is it curry or Chinese?
I just put it in the poll, but you said curry. You would say the opposite to me. I know that. That's why I said it.
Anyway, so Steve, do you want to do your contacts?
Yeah, so Twitter at Steve007, PSN ID, the real Steve007, Xbox, again, Steve007, email, steve07@popculturegames.co.uk. And yours?
My details are my YouTube channel, just search for Haydn Rhys Jones, Twitter, PSN, Xbox Live, Steam, basically just about everything that you can log into, HERJUK. If you want to get in contact with me or the show, just email podcast@popculturegamers.co.uk. Don't forget we have a Facebook group. Please come along and join the fun there. And Twitter as well. We've also got at popculturegamer. There's no S on the end of it, just simply because Twitter doesn't allow you to have any longer of a name. And don't forget our website, which is popculturegamers.podbean.com. And that's it for another show. We'll see you next week. And it's a good night from me.
And a good night from me.
Good night.
Good night.
You are about to witness history in the making.